Hello, I'm Bob Smeerfak, but not really. This series is designed for theological seminary students with approaching exams who have not had time to read the Bible, and for clergy sitting at the laundromat waiting for their vestments to come out of the dryer so they can don them immediately and avoid wrinkling. Matthew chapter 15. Let's go. The fabulous Jesus boys were lighting it up in Gennesaret when reps from the Jerusalem chapter of the scribes and Pharisees caught up with them. They wanted to know why the Jesus boys didn't like to wash up before they ate, because that's how their elders had always played it. But Jesus had a comeback. Your traditions suck because they contradict what God said. Case in point, God said if you disrespect your mom and dad, you get to stop breathing. But he said the Pharisees had a habit of taking cash they were supposed to use to help out their mom and dad and saying, "Oh, I was going to put that in the collection plate at church." So their tradition took a big crap on God's rule. He let them know they were two-faced, and that Isaiah had their number. And if you don't know who Isaiah is by now, you haven't been following along. Isaiah had predicted they'd talk a good talk, but totally take a nap when it came to walking the walk, that their religion didn't mean anything because they were pretty much making stuff up. And Jesus told the crowd, "Listen up. He said, you are not what you eat. What you spit out, that's what gets you." But his boys caught up with him and asked if he was aware that this analogy had really pissed off the Pharisees. Jesus summed up his feelings about it by telling them there was going to be some gardening, and all the vegetable matter the father part of himself hadn't been responsible for putting down was going to be pulled up. He said, let them go. They're trying to tell other people where to go, and they can't even say where they're going. And that means everyone's going to take a header. Then Peter said what was on his mind, which was, "I don't get it." Jesus said, "Really? Still?" He told Peter that whatever you eat goes through your stomach and ends up in the sewer. But whatever comes out the opposite way is being pumped out by the heart, and that's what makes you all dirty. And that included an awful list of things, like bad thoughts, criminal homicides, getting it on with other people's spouses, unmarried people getting it on, stealing stuff, lying about other people, and talking smack against God. That's the dirty stuff. But forgetting to rinse off before dinner? Not so much. Then Jesus took off and headed for Tyre and Sidon, that pair of cities God had given a permanent bath to a long time ago. When he got there, a really perturbed Canaanite woman hit him up to zap her daughter, who had a particularly bad devil infestation. But Jesus totally snubbed her. She wasn't giving up, though, and his disciple types begged him to give her the boot because she was starting to get annoying. He told them Canaanites weren't in the club and didn't deserve any attention. But then she groveled and asked for some special treatment. He let her know it wasn't a good idea to let canines eat off the kiddie table. But she countered with the well-known fact that dogs were perfectly happy to scavenge the stuff that fell off the table. So Jesus gave her an A on the faith test and told her she was a bona fide miracle recipient. He did a long-distance shebang and her possessed daughter got better right then. So Jesus kept on trucking till he got near the shore, then climbed a mountain and found a place to take a load off. What happened next was a serious case of New Testament deja vu, a mass feeding bearing an eerie resemblance to the food expansion miracle only a chapter ago. Similarities included a pre-healing session. A bunch of people came along and dumped off tons of handicapped, sightless, speechless, and crippled folks next to Jesus, so he fixed them up. The crowd was impressed to see people talking who previously weren't able to put two syllables together, folks enjoying regenerated limbs, and people capitalizing on better eyesight, to the point that the crowd started giving props to Yahweh. Jesus called a quick disciple meeting to say he really liked these people for sticking with him for the better part of 72 hours without eating, and now the last thing he wanted to do was tell them to get lost, only to have them pass out on the way home. Now, the disciples have had only one chapter to forget about the last Magic Jesus buffet, but that's all the time they needed. Once again, they were incredulous. They asked where in the hell they were going to come up with that volume of foodstuffs so far from town. So Jesus asked what kind of baked goods they had on hand. They counted up 7 loaves of bread, and not more than a couple of minnows. Anyway, the procedure was the same as the last time from here on out. Jesus made everybody grab a seat, he said grace, divided everything up, then the disciples passed it all out. After everyone gorged, there was enough takeout left to fill 7 doggy bags. Head count this time, 4,000 grown males, plus an undisclosed number of females and kids. Then Jesus told the crowd to get on out of there, at which point he caught a boat over to Magdala. There is no recorded motive for his choice of transportation here, but one might imagine he'd learned his lesson about walking up and down waves on a full stomach in chapter 14. Next in this series, we'll move on to chapter 16. Spoiler alert. Jesus reveals he's going to get killed before all this is over, but Peter says, "Shut the front door." As always, I'm not a religious figure, but if you want me to save you or damn you to hell, I'll do my best.